Welcome to the second part of the lecture, Introduction to Entrepreneurship. Please note that the views and opinions expressed are, however, those of the authors only and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or EIT raw materials. Let me remind you that in the previous lecture, we explored the concept of entrepreneurship, answered the question, who is an entrepreneur, and became familiar with the principles of design thinking in entrepreneurship. In particular, we examined how to properly formulate a problem and how to generate potential solutions to these problems. In this lecture, we will learn what B2C, B2B, and human with human mean, and why strategic planning is crucial at the very beginning of establishing a company, not only once it is fully operational. So, let's begin. The first element, B2B or B2C or human with human. Let's think for a moment. Why do companies exist? Pause here and try to answer this question. Exactly. Companies exist to solve problems, as we have already discussed, and to satisfy the needs of consumers and clients. You may wonder, what is the difference between a consumer and a client? A consumer is an individual or organization that buys or uses a product or service provided by a business, usually with transactional relationships. What does it mean? A person pays for a product or service. The key motivator behind their purchasing decision is usually fulfilling an immediate need, price policy, and less often the brand itself. In other words, a consumer is typically someone who seeks quick satisfaction of their needs without considering additional motivators. They are usually one-time buyers, less often regular customers. Importantly, consumers are not engaged in long-term interaction with a business, unlike clients. For example, in your neighborhood, there is a small grocery store. Someone buys bread there every day. Why do they choose this store? Because it's conveniently located and they are used to it. But if another store opens nearby, offering tastier bread at a lower price, I can guarantee that they will go there instead. Even though this person was a regular buyer, they are not engaged in long-term relationships with the store. They are not asked about the assortment, service quality, or their personal needs. They just come in the morning, buy bread, say thank you, and leave. That is consumer. Client, on the other hand, is an individual or organization that receives products or services from a business, often through professional, ongoing, or personalized relationships. Unlike a consumer, a client does not simply want to satisfy a basic need, like buying bread. Instead, they seek a particular value through purchasing goods, services, or experiences, and they are willing to pay more than the average market price for their value. This is the key distinction. Additionally, clients develop a relationship with the business. These relationships are often more personalized than those of ordinary consumers. A client can influence what is offered, how it is delivered, and even the future success of the business. For example, a client might be someone who regularly visits a particular restaurant. They don't come merely to eat. They come to enjoy a meaningful experience, trying something new, spending quality time, and gaining impressions we can value. If they only wanted to eat, they could go to cafeteria or fast food chain, but they prefer this restaurant because it offers something different, something that matters to them. They are willing to pay more, even though there are cheaper options available, because this restaurant is their favorite place. This creates a long-term relationship. In fact, the restaurant owner, knowing their loyal client over time, may even prepare personalized offers for them on birthdays or other special occasions. This type of personalized connection is what differentiates a client from an ordinary consumer. And clearly, if a client works with us for a longer period, they can influence the development of the business. They often ask for feedback, participate in surveys, and thus contribute to shaping the company's future. So, the difference is clear. A consumer fulfilling basic needs, a client seeking value. For entrepreneurship, it is strongly recommended to develop relationships with clients rather than consumers. Consumers are typical for small scale businesses, but if the goal is to grow and develop, a company must build long term client relationships. In basic theory, all types of clients are divided into two major categories: B2B and B2C. B2B means business to business. This is when our customer is another business. The sales cycle here is more complex and longer because it usually involves large volumes of goods or supplies. Each business partner tries to negotiate the most favorable supply conditions for themselves. Typically, in B2B sales, products are offered at a lower than market price so that the other business can also earn its share of profit. Examples include large companies selling software solutions or other goods to the other businesses. B2C means business to consumer. Here, the customer is the end consumer or client. The sales cycle is simpler and shorter, and the price is usually higher since products are sold at retail rates. Examples of B2C companies include Netflix, Nike, and Amazon, businesses that interact directly with end app users. However, what is most important to remember is that behind these abbreviations, B2B and B2C, there are always people. It should come as no surprise. There are real individuals with their own fears, hopes, dreams, and emotions. I would like to share some findings from a small research conducted by Adventure Group on the emotional state of people in Ukraine in recent times. Today, given that Ukraine has been living under full-scale invasion for more than 3.5 years, the key emotions experienced by many Ukrainians are fatigue, tension, frustration, fear, helplessness, confusion, disappointment, and despair. What does it mean? Under such conditions, people tend to consume less. They save more, they are not ready to invest, and they are less willing to take risks. As entrepreneurs, we must understand this. Whenever we offer something to our customers, we need to take these emotional states into account, adjusting our marketing campaigns and communication strategies to support, comfort, inspire, inspire hope, and bring a little joy into people's life. That is why I recommend using in your business models the human with human approach. What does human with human mean? It is a concept in entrepreneurship and design thinking that shifts the focus of traditional business models, B2B and B2C, towards genuine human relationships. In practice, this means creating businesses and solutions based on real human connections, empathy, and collaboration, rather than on transactions or data. Human with human means the businesses works for people, the businesses works with people. We are not selling to some abstract consumer or client. We are selling to a specific person we interact with. We acknowledge their fears and uncertainties and try to dispel them. We recognize their distrust and work to build co-creation processes that foster higher levels of trust. Few key principles of this approach. First one, empathy first. We must understand people's emotional and personal needs, going beyond demographics. Listen to their stories, not just look at the numbers. When forming a proposal, we often use the persona method. Instead of targeting a statistical group, we take a real person and tailor the solution to their emotional state, needs, and requests. Second one, authentic communication. Marketing should not feel robotic or content for the sake of content. Instead, we should involve people, host live streams, share stories from the company's life, or even invite clients to those streams. Transparency matters. Admitting that a product still has flaws, but showing the effort to improve it. Honesty builds trust. Third one, co-creation. Rather than just selling standardized products to the mass market, we involve customers in the creation process. Examples: organizing hackathons, running surveys, inviting people to visit our office or production facilities, and asking for the feedback on improvements. This builds integration into the ecosystem, long-term partnership, and stronger connections. Next one, value-based relationships. Today, values are matter. People clearly define their red lines. Some avoid buying goods in non-recyclable packaging. Others boycott companies whose advertising features individuals linked to scandals. Therefore, it is crucial to shape a strong value system within the business, values that resonate with the target audience and strengthen trust. Last but not least, long-term relationships. Businesses should not be about one-time sales, but about developing loyalty through loyalty programs, bonuses, and co-creation opportunities. In summary, human with human is not just a trendy concept of buzzword. It is a genuine response to the reality we live in and one of the best strategies for sustainable business growth. Compared to classical models, human with human focuses on relationships, personal and meaningful ones. It emphasizes shared stories and collaborative approaches. In some cases, founders themselves can actively support their community of users and co-create new solutions with them. Given the current times and looking into the future, this model should serve as a foundation for building customer relations. The final element of our module is strategic planning. So, what is a strategy? A strategy is a long-term plan for the development of an organization, a way of achieving goals and sustaining competitive advantages. Why is strategy important from the very beginning? Because if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. When we start developing a company or business, we must clearly understand the direction we are moving in. Without a clear picture of the future, how will we know if we have reached our indeed intended destination? That is why, even at the early stages of creating a company, it is essential to think about strategy. Of course, strategies evolve. They will likely change over time. They may be very detailed, or then maybe just three sentences written on a napkin. The important thing is that as an entrepreneur and founder, you have clarity. We are moving in this direction, and it best reflects our priorities as a company, my priorities as an entrepreneur, and those of our customers with whom we want to build long-term relationships. Every strategy consists of three key elements: mission, vision, and values. Mission answers the question, why do we exist? It defines the core purpose of the business and explains what we do and for whom. Why is the mission important in entrepreneurship? It guides daily decision making. Each choice an entrepreneur makes should align with the mission. If the answer is yes, this is why we started the company, then the decision makes sense. If not, it is rejected. It helps the team remain aligned and motivated. Team members understand that they are not just here to earn money, but to create impact on the community, region, country, and society at all. This becomes a strong motivational factor. It communicates value and purpose to stakeholders, and it prevents mission drift. As companies grow and taste financial success, they may be tempted to do things that were never part of their original plan. Having a mission helps avoid short-term decisions that could harm long-term development. Few examples of company missions. For example, the mission of Google to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. The mission of LinkedIn connects the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. The next element is vision, which answers the question, where are we going? A vision is a declaration of the company's aspirations, what it strives to achieve, or what kind of organization it aims to become in the future. It is a clear picture of where the company wants to be in 5, 7, or 10 years. Why is vision important in entrepreneurship? First, it serves as a roadmap for long-term strategy. Once we have drawn a picture of the future, we know exactly where we're moving and avoid losing direction. Vision inspires. If employees know that in 5 years the company will be large, successful, and perhaps have an office by a lake or a river, they work harder because they want to be part of creating something greater. Vision helps attract partners, investors, and talents. If a company has no clear vision, it's difficult to convince investors to commit to or to motivate skilled professionals to join, especially when resources are limited. A compelling vision can inspire people to join even for a lower salary because they believe in the future being built. Vision fosters purpose-driven leadership. Entrepreneurs with a clear vision lead not just for profit, but for a higher goal, guiding their team toward a meaningful future. Few examples of the vision. Google, to provide access to the world's information in one click. Nike, to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. The last element is values, which answers the question, how do we act or how do we behave? Values are the core principles and beliefs that shape the company's culture, behavior, and decision-making processes. They act as guides, showing what we do, what we do not do, how we interact within the team, and how we engage with the outside world. Values are critically important. When hiring new staff, if a person's personal values strongly conflict with those of the company, it can be destructive and often harms young teams. Values, therefore, serve as guiding markers that everyone in the team must agree on. If there is no alignment, probably isn't the right organization for that person. Why are values important? They build trust. Today, many people choose companies based on the values they promote and uphold. They influence team dynamics and hiring practices. They raise the ethical standard of decision making, helping avoid crossing red lines. They ensure that businesses stay centered on the people they serve, and they distinguish their organization from others in the eyes of clients and partners. A strong corporate culture often signals that the company is reliable and worth collaborating with. For example, Apple's corporate values, as published on their website, are accessibility, education, environment, inclusion and diversity, privacy, innovation, supply chain responsibility, and social justice. Each value carries some specific meaning. For instance, Apple designs its products to be accessible to people with disabilities and ensure inclusivity regardless of race, religion, nationality, or background. For many customers, the value-based identity is a decisive reason to choose Apple. Why are mission, vision, and values important for startups and small businesses at the beginning of their journey? At the early stages, startups always face uncertainty, rapid changes, and limited resources. It's very easy to lose sight of the original purpose, why the business was created, and where it is supposed to go. Having a clear mission, vision, and set of values provides a framework that keeps the company focused and resilient. Strategic vision ensures clarity, focus, and alignment of actions, both within the team and between the founder and the team. These elements guarantee that growth is intentional. The company does not grow just because everyone else is growing. but because it is planned, deliberate, and aligned with goals. Conscious growth is sustainable. If we achieved it once, we can repeat it again and again in the future. Having a mission, vision, and values also helps entrepreneurs remain authentic. As Steve Jobs said, stay hungry, stay foolish. These guiding elements help entrepreneurs, despite short-term successes, stay committed to long-term goals and remain driven to achieve more. So, to summarize both parts of the lecture, Introduction to Entrepreneurship. First point, not all entrepreneurs are inventors. If you cannot code, use a 3D printer, or create things with your own hands, that doesn't disqualify you from being an entrepreneur. Invention is not a key prerequisite. What matters is the ability to generate innovations. Focus on creating ideas. There will always be people capable of building them. Second point, it doesn't matter how great your product is, how much money you have invested, or how much time you have spent developing it. If there is no market for it, or if the market is shrinking, the business cannot survive. That is why in entrepreneurship it is vital to find the right moment and the right market, and to study problems deeply so that your product or service meets real life demand. Third point, an entrepreneur is someone who has the ability to combine resources in new ways in order to implement innovations. It is someone who can model situations, see potential opportunities, and form a team to bring them to life, using all available physical and intellectual resources. What is innovation? It is not just invention. Innovation equals to invention plus implementation plus value. What is the problem? It is a real challenge, unmet need, or inefficiency experienced by a specific group of people, which can be solved with a product, service, or innovation. A problem is never defined as simply a lack of something. At the center of every problem is always a person with real pains and dissatisfaction. Entrepreneurs must learn to see opportunities where, where others only see problems and solve them. Always remember, whether you are offering a product, a service, or a form of social impact, you are interacting with real people. That means creating with real people, engaging your target audience, involving them in co-creation, and being there when they need support or simply someone to listen. If you don't know where you're going, you will end up somewhere else you didn't plan to be. That is why strategic planning makes sense right from the start. When growth comes quickly, it is easy to lose yourself in short-term results. But if you want to play the long game, having a strategy from the very beginning is the key to ensuring that your company will function and succeed in the future. So, in conclusion, entrepreneurship is more than just business. It's about impact. Being an entrepreneur means seeing opportunities where others see problems. Entrepreneurship is about building the future with your own hands. And even if you cannot do everything yourself, that is not a problem. Entrepreneurship is a mindset, a way of creating value not only with your own hands, but also through your team, your resources, your partners, and your customers. Thank you for your attention. I'm glad you stayed until the end of this lecture. Once again, I encourage you to complete the test that follows to check what you have retained for the future. I wish you success in completing this course and, of course, in starting your own business, one that will be successful. Do not be afraid of entrepreneurship. It is a unique opportunity that a valuable skill to develop, not only if you want to become an entrepreneur, but also to be more effective and capable everyday life. Thank you, and hopefully see you later.